And that's right, everybody. Welcome back once again to another edition of the Best Seat in the House podcast. As always, I'm your host, Rob Kramer, joined by my co-host, the great Daniel Bobo Curlin. And Dan, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing okay. I have to say, it looks like I've gone from one season of yelling at the TV and nearly destroying the TV to whatever it was that I saw on Tuesday with the Rangers.
Yeah, that was a rough start to the season. We'll definitely be getting into that as the Rangers ended up getting shut out 3-0 in their opening game of the year. We do have a lot of other bad stuff to get to that first, as it has
Yep,
been a
exactly.
really crappy week and a half for New York sports.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, what you Yankee fans have just won, over behind the curtain. You just won a trip to Cancun. It could be yours if the price is right.
Well, yeah, they definitely have. As the Yankees are on the way home right now, they'll be taking that fantastic golf tour down in Cancun right now. The same one that our New York Mets are on right now. But
Yup.
the Yankees did get a playoff series victory under their belt, though, so we at least got to give them that.
Yeah, you gotta give them that. But when you have high expectations like championship, I say this the same with the Mets. When you have those high championship expectations, to lose that early on, it's got to be a letdown for those Yankee fans.
Oh, no doubt about it. And look, we live in New York. We all know Yankee fans. We all know the high bar that Yankee fans have for the success of their team. But look, the fact of the matter is the Yankees lost to the team that won the American League East. The Yankees ended up tying record-wise with the Blue Jays atop the AL East, both 94 and 68. But the Blue Jays ended up winning the division. They beat the Yankees in the season series. They won the tiebreaker and took the division title. So the Yankees were not able to undo that because they went to Toronto. They got their teeth kicked in those first two games there. And once again, we see the Yankees fall short, coming up small in a playoff series. The Yankees are taking a lot of heat right now, too, and I understand why. But, look, this is a team that went to the World Series last year. They were clearly the class of the American League last year. We saw them plow through the playoffs. And unfortunately, look, the Yankees put themselves in a bad situation right off the bat here where, they had to play for their lives against the Boston Red Sox. And that went the full 3 games that they had to go. And they ended up, throwing Cam Schlittler out there, who threw the game of his life, no doubt about it. But it looked like the Yankee starting staff kind of went into hibernation after that, as Carlos Rodon would get smacked. Um, Max Fried obviously had just a terrible, terrible start against the Blue Jays after he was brilliant against the Red Sox. He threw 3 innings and allowed 7 runs against the Blue Jays in that game on Sunday. That really set the tone. The Yankees had to steal one of those games in Toronto to really give themselves a chance in this series, and losing both those games basically ended it. As we saw yesterday, Dan, with a 5-2 loss to Toronto, and the Yankees go down in Game 4 of the ALDS.
And yeah, that Toronto team just looked like it was going to be a tough opponent for the Yankees. They just looked like they were gonna. They just looked like they were just determined to win. Like they were going on such a hot stretch that team was just they. It looked like it was just a stacked lineup. They somehow managed to have a stacked lineup all at the same time for a team that usually probably isn't in a market that re-signs their free agents. Usually, they were just lucky that all their guys were hot at the same time, and they. I mean, the Yankees were. Let's face it, they were. They didn't have. They really didn't have anything, and it even looked like their bullpen just faltered.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. That's something that you really can't argue with. You saw the Yankees kind of really everybody, every way for their team just gave it up. It was not a good look for the Yankees at all. Obviously, their starting pitching came up small. Their clutch hitting, was not getting it done. And when it comes down to it, that's what happened. The only guy that really hit at all consistently was Aaron Judge. And it's funny how we're talking about that uh, after the last couple of years, talking about Judge not doing anything. Well, Judge did actually have a good playoff run this time around. He ended up hitting 500. Now, that's not an old 2 for 4 500. He went 13 for 26 in 7 playoff games. Aaron Judge absolutely ripped it up. Now, the only thing is, as much as I want to give the guy credit for it, and he deserves all the credit in the world, 11 of those 13 hits were singles. So he did kill it, and you can't take away the moment that he had in game 3, Dan. He hit 100-mile-an-hour fastball for a bomb down the down the left field line, right off the foul pole, to tie the game at 6-6 in a game the Yankees once trailed 6-1, with their season on the line too. So you could say that's one of the biggest hits of Aaron Judge's career, and I give him all the credit in the world for that. I give him all the credit in the world for, the way he went out and played this postseason. But unfortunately for the Yankees, just wasn't enough.
Yeah, we really wasn't enough for him, Aaron Judge, especially the fact there were a couple of at bats he just looked silly like the rest of the lineup that looked like all of a sudden they were a tough opponent. They just were made to look silly every time, every lot.
Yeah, and one of the guys that they've typically been depending on the last couple of years, while Aaron Judge really hasn't performed well in the playoffs until this year again, and I don't want to say his whole career because people forget 2017 he was okay. 2018 against the Red Sox he was really good. He was pretty good in 2019 as well, and his struggles really started in 2020 and culminated last year with a really bad run that went all the way into the World Series. But he this year came out and ripped the cover off the ball. The one guy that didn't, though, was Giancarlo Stanton. Giancarlo Stanton, everybody's been talking about the playoff production he's put up over the last couple of years, and rightfully so. He's been a monster in the postseason for the Yankees, considering last year he had 7 home runs and drove in 16 runs during the Yankees playoff run. So just phenomenal numbers for him. And overall, he's put up really good numbers for the Yankees over the last couple of years in the playoffs as well. But the fact is that this year he didn't hit, and the Yankees needed. Judge finally hit in the postseason. The problem was nobody else did.
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly what the results that would lead to.
Yeah,
and
it's true. And yeah,
and there's going to be a lot of questions. There's even going to be a question of is how long before Brian Cashman is on the hot seat? How long before Aaron Boone is on the hot seat? So there's a lot of questions about that.
Well, Dan, it's funny you bring that up because that's exactly where I was going next. That's the chemistry that they always talk about. But Dan, Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone, you just mentioned both their names. What do you think if your name was Dan Steinbrenner, Dan Bobo Steinbrenner, and you were running the Yankees right now? Does Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman come back next year?
I really don't think they'd be. He would be back next year. I'd be pretty much like this Seinfeld character.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'd be saying I've been to so many movies. I've been to the Buck Showalter, the Joe Torre, Joe Girardi.
Yep, just like Steinbrenner, like you said, and he kept mentioning, Billy Martin and all that stuff. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I would definitely, and you know what? I wouldn't disagree with you. And look, Brian Cashman's been here since 1998, and I always gave Brian Cashman all the credit in the world. I really did until about between 2017 and 2019 is when Brian Cashman really started to lose me, where I started to question some of his thought process and signings. And, the guy has had this job since 1998. Let's not, beat around the bush. He got those first couple of rings he got, 98, 99, and 2000. That groundwork was laid by Gene Michael. And, a lot of people don't give credit to Gene Michael, the guy that really saved the Yankees from the time that George Steinbrenner was banned from baseball. So, we saw Gene Michael lay the groundwork, keep guys like Mariano, keep guys like Jeter and Andy Pettitte and Bernie Williams that George, tried to when he came back. And, he tried to trade, but then realized the value of them and didn't. And if he was there in the early 90s when they were in the pipeline, he might have traded them. So a lot of people, give Brian Cashman this credit for those early championships when really it was Gene Michael. The only title that you can fully give to Brian Cashman is the 2009 championship. And, even that still had Jeter and Posada and Andy Pettitte and all these guys that were on those 90s teams. So, but I'll give him that 2009. But I mean, let's be honest, Dan, the guy's been on the job for almost 30 years now. And aside from those early championship dynasty years, he's got one title since 2001. I mean, that's very, very un-Yankees like. That's a quarter of a century for the Yankees with one championship. And I don't understand how these guys aren't being held responsible more than they already are. Yankee fans are fed up, and understandably so. And it seems like Steinbrenner just doesn't want to rock the boat. The Yankees are good. They're not great, but they're good. They're in the playoffs most years, and I think Steinbrenner is happy with that.
I do not think Brian Cashman would be general manager if George Steinbrenner was still alive today.
Oh, I'm with you on that, 100%. And yeah, so it's a shame. It's a shame that the Yankees went down like this, and I'm with you. I think I would have fired Boone and Cashman after this year, but I don't think the Yankees will do that. We can all speculate about them being on the hot seat, but unfortunately, I just don't think that's going to be the case. I do want to give a little credit to Cam Schlittler, who went out there and threw a great game last night. I know his numbers don't necessarily reflect that, but coming off his all-time performance against the Red Sox, 8 innings, 5 hits, no walks, 12 Ks in the elimination game 3 against them last week, he returned to the mound yesterday evening and pitched into the 7th inning very effectively. 6 1/3 innings, 8 hits, 4 runs, 2 earned, no walks, and 2 Ks. Now let's not forget, 2 of those runs there were allowed by the relief pitcher. I forget which one, Cruz or whoever came in right after him, allowed those runs. So 2 of those you can't even necessarily blame Cam all the way for. But this guy pitched with his heart on his sleeve the whole night for the Yankees. He kept them in the game when the offense wasn't doing much. They only scored 2 runs last night, so he kept them in the game until late in the game when against the Yankees bullpen when they were really able to open it up. But you got to give all the credit in the world to this kid, and you also have to say that this kid is going to be a big part of the Yankees rotation next year, Dan.
Yeah, they lucked out in getting his talent that they've gotten, and the other thing I gotta be surprised a starting pitcher didn't get pull the hook until the point that he did.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the Yankees were really up against it too. They've burned a lot of their pitching the last couple of days. I don't really know who was even available yesterday. The Yankees bullpen's been very inconsistent. So I don't blame Boone for pushing this kid for as long as he did. And to be honest, if it was me, I would have even let him in. I would have left him in to try to find his way out of that jam. He was only at about 88 pitches. I would have left him in. Your season's on the line anyway. And whatever happened, you came in, you brought the reliever in. and he gave it up anyway. So in my opinion, I would have let Cam try to work his way out of it, but you can't really knock Aaron Boone for that. Um, so nothing else you can really say about that. Yankees go down, and we got our buddy Mac TV hanging out in the chat with us right now, and he said George Costanza is missed in that Yankees organization, and he's 100% right about that. And you know what? I heard a rumor that George Costanza was actually bodysuit man too, so you have to keep that in mind.
Yeah. And of course, you can't forget the one blunder when he made the suggestion to Buck Showalter that time he talked the play he talked him into to having the uniform switch to cotton. We all remember how that disaster was. I'll never forget seeing having a time I was visiting my uncle and watching a TV, and he says, "Hey, you got to look at this. Can you see? Can you believe this? Madeline just split his pants. He was livid about that. Like what the heck was he seeing there?"
And it's a shame that he ended up bringing that over to the Mets in 2022 for September, though, only for September. And that's why they choked that bad down the stretch with those cotton uniforms.
Yeah. I'll never forget that time that game one. Max Scherzer split his pants. I was like, what the fuck am I watching? Can I? Is it that is not that is whatever hours that game took place. Which I wish I could have had back. That I spent $45 on a ticket to that game one of the 2022 wild card series when that happened.
All right. And he definitely did split his pants that night. No doubt about that. He split his pants. He shit his pants. He did everything that night. Now, this is a guy I want to give a little bit of credit to for the Yankees is Anthony Volpe. This guy was a punching bag for Yankee fans all year, and he made it easy for them. I'm not saying Yankee fans were unjustified for knocking Volpe because he definitely had a lot of bad moments this year. But I got to say, Volpe impressed me in the postseason. He had a couple of really big hits. He had a big home run. He played some solid defense, too. He made a really nice over-the-shoulder catch yesterday, running out with his back to home plate. And he also made a really great pick. I forget if it was early in this series or against the Red Sox, but he made a really awesome pick at shortstop where it looked like the ball was going to deflect and go over his glove into the outfield, and he snagged it right out of the air. So I want to give credit to Volpe after having an up and down year. I think he had a pretty good postseason to at least leave Yankee fans with a little bit of a better taste in their mouth than it would have had he not performed that way. But Dan, what do you think? Do you think with all the frustration that Yankee fans have shown in regards to Volpe over the last year or two, do you think that they're going to ride it out one more time and bring him back and Volpe will be the shortstop for the Yankees next year again?
I think a lot of what he's shown this year, he's probably going to be back.
Yeah, like especially from the playoffs, you mean, right?
Yeah, especially from the playoffs. He's going to get at least one more go around at this.
Yeah, could be. He's still a young kid, so definitely not crazy to suggest that. So I kind of get the feeling he's going to be back too. So it's definitely possible that the Yankees give Volpe one more shot. So yeah, that's going to close the book on the 2025 Yankees and the 2025 New York baseball season. Believe it or not, at least the Yankees made the playoffs. The Mets didn't. But the Yankees lose to the Blue Jays 5-2 and are eliminated in Game 4 of the ALDS. The Blue Jays move on to take on the winners of the Detroit Tigers and Seattle Mariners series over there. That's going to be concluding. So that'll be an really interesting ALCS over there. And then in the National League, we got that one wrapping up right now with the Cubs did get a victory yesterday to keep it going against Milwaukee, although Milwaukee looks like they're in a pretty good spot right there. And same thing with the Dodgers. The Dodgers had a chance to close out Philly yesterday, but Philly was able to get the win and keep this thing going at least one more game longer. So, we'll have to take a look at that. Nobody's punched their ticket yet in the National League. And then last thing, Dan, on a little baseball note here, is that the news came down today. We knew that it wasn't good with Reed Garrett when he missed basically the last month of the season. And we now find out why he's going to be undergoing Tommy John surgery, which he did today, and that's going to take him out for all next year. So this could be the last we've seen of Reed Garrett in a Met uniform. And that really means, too, with this guy out of the picture and a bunch of the other guys the Mets have in their bullpen free agents, including potentially Edwin Diaz, I really hope the Mets get Diaz locked up. Let's just assume that they are going to figure that out with Diaz. Outside of him, the Mets could have a completely different bullpen next year.
Yeah, that's going to be a big thing. I know one thing. I feel like the Mets will probably almost have to re-sign Diaz.
Because that's going to be. Have to. You're right.
Yeah. That's going to be the first and foremost thing. I could tell it by the eyes of Steve Cohen that we said about the two free agents who are going to definitely try to make an effort to re-sign. It was probably going to be Edwin Diaz and probably Pete Alonso. That's probably going to be one of the first things they got to take care of, especially that. Yeah. And then they're going to hopefully this time they'll be on a lookout to bring in the right people in the bullpen. Not these people that have had a history of a disaster that you question, like, what the fuck, and then who are you bringing this guy when I've seen fans of this fan base, all they do is complain about this guy? I feel like if finally some of these things are going to realize don't always work when you find these things off the scrap heap like this.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. And we talk about the free agents in the Mets bullpen too. Outside of Edwin Diaz, who obviously we all want to come back. I mean, there really isn't many guys that you would even really want to be back from last year. I mean, when you really think about it, AJ Minter is going to be back. He's obviously got hurt last year. He signed a 2-year deal. So AJ Minter will definitely be back next year. But outside of him, the only other guy I would even want to see back is Brooks Raley.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm kind of iffy about bringing back Helsley.
Oh, no. You cannot bring back Ryan Helsley. Absolutely not. Because you have to think, Dan, too, he's going to want closer money. So there's no way the Mets are going to pay this guy double-digit millions after he had a 7 ERA for us.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't see him bringing back. I kind of question they need to do a better job shoring up the bullpen, and they need to bring in the other key element. Of course, is the starting pitching. That's going to have to. They need to set themselves up in a situation where they're not going to have to use up so much bullpen early on.
Oh yeah, and we've talked about it before. They're going to have to go out and they're going to have to figure out a way to bring in an ace or bring in somebody to change the dynamic going on right now. And by the way, I do want to point out the Rangers just took the lead against the Buffalo Sabres, scoring their first goal of the regular season this year from Alexis Lafreniere. So fingers crossed that Laffy can have himself a big season as he puts the Rangers on the board 1-0. We'll get more into Rangers in a little bit at the end of the show, but I just saw that out of the corner of my eye and just had to bring it up. Really nice goal from Laffy, by the way.
Yep, I'm gonna have to hit rewind on my DVR for that one to see that.
Yeah, nice to see. So all right, Dan, let's keep it rolling along here right now as we close the page on baseball, and we'll get more into the Mets in the coming weeks with the free agents and everything they can do. But they're still right now. We're still so close to the end of the regular season. Nothing's really happened yet, so we'll dip our toe into more Mets talk in the coming weeks. But Dan, let's shift over to some football and talk about your New York Football Giants coming off a really encouraging win against the Chargers, a 21-18 victory at MetLife. They go down to Louisiana and unfortunately lose this one 26-14.
Yeah, there was just way too much. Like, it looked like the offensive line didn't have anything. Too many drop passes on top of too many rookie mistake penalties, and it was just a recipe for disaster. What I saw, and I'm hoping that Jackson Dart bounces back from this. Maybe just a little rookie made, a couple little rookie mistakes, got it out of his system, and they can get back to have to having a good game and being in the game the entire time this time. And I had and then hopefully the wide receivers have to shore up on these drop passes, because already it's starting to scare me. Jackson Dart has nothing to doesn't have much to work with, especially since Malik Neighbors is out for the season for being a fortunate victim to that MetLife Stadium turf. And it's starting to look like that. Like you got nothing else to go to.
Yeah, yeah, it's true, and it was a really tough loss. Losing Neighbors. Obviously, he's one of the more exciting players the Giants have, especially on offense. And Dart, yeah, you mentioned Dart. The guy went out there and had a phenomenal first start against the San Diego, the Los Angeles Chargers, whatever. San Diego. They should still be in San Diego. We all know that. But the Chargers went out there, and he did a great job against them. Did not turn the ball over. Really seemed like he injected some life into this offense, and some competitiveness that we haven't seen much from our New York football teams over the last couple of years. So it felt really good. And then in this week, like you said, it kind of went to shit. But he's a rookie. You're going to have those games where he looks like, um, Joe Montana, or you're going to have those games where he looks like, the worst quarterback of all time, or so. And there's going to be in between too. He's still a young kid. He's still figuring things out. It was a tough 26-14 loss, and like you said, we mentioned the turnovers. Dan, the Giants turned the ball over 5 times in that game, 3 times courtesy of their young quarterback. He threw 2 bad interceptions, and then he actually also fumbled the ball. So really bad job. Also, their rookie running back put one on the ground and fumbled it. So the Giants had a really hard time hanging on to the ball. And when you turn the ball over 5 times, the, the Giants are lucky that they only lost that game by 12 points,
Yeah, exactly. Because it looked like it was going to be a lot worse, and they really got to. If they could shore up on those for a little less of those turnovers, they could be right in a lot of games and potentially win a bit more than what we could expect. And I just have a feeling he's gonna have a big game. I feel like there's a lot of he has somehow a fiery attitude about that from having a bad game about that he's gonna just go in there and just forget that all happened and just have a monster of game.
Yeah, Dan, what's the one thing that we always hear these professional athletes say, whether it's a closer or a batter or, whatever sport they play? You got to have a short memory. So if he could go out there and have a short memory and take care of business, nobody will care that he had a bad game last week,
Yeah, exactly. And he just needs to keep doing that and I'm at this point. I'm just trusting the process right now because I know I don't really have that high expectation going into this season. I know there's going to be a lot of bumps and bruises early on this year that I feel like the Giants just need to do enough to just have that momentum they could build toward next year, which could be a monster year,
Yeah,
depending
no
what
doubt
they
about
do
it.
this year. I feel like this year is a year that's shaping up for the next season, and they got to do the right things to put themselves in that position.
The Giants are in a weird spot right now, though, too, because both their GM and their head coach got votes of confidence from ownership last year, and they started off 1-4 this year. And I'm telling you, Dan, if the heat on the Giants are going to get turned up on their head coach and their GM real high, if the losing keeps going on, if the Giants, if we're checking in mid-season and the Giants are 2-7 and going nowhere, you know, we could really see Giants ownership from Mara on down really consider big time changes in the organization. And you know what? One of the things that the Giants are doing too, in my opinion, is being so stupid with their roster construction. They have three quarterbacks on here right now. You know, and I know that the best thing for them is to just let. We both thought early on, you know what? Let's just let Jackson Dart marinate in the NFL and let him take his time. If it was me making the calls, I wouldn't have had him start until at least week 9 or 10. Let him sit on the bench and soak everything in. Okay, whatever. The Giants ripped the Band-Aid off. They threw him right in very early on, week 4. And, that's fine. That's the decision that they decided to make. The thing that bothers me now is that there are two quarterbacks on this roster that really have no shot of playing again this year. I mean, one of them definitely is not going to play in Jameis Winston. And the other one in Russell Wilson is only going to play in the case of, maybe a couple of snaps here and there at the end of a game in a blowout, or in the case of an injury, God forbid, he's going to be coming in. But both these guys aren't going anywhere or aren't playing at all. My point being that right now we just had the word come out earlier today that the Cincinnati Bengals, who have been in the market for backup quarterback, traded for Joe Flacco from the Browns for depth. And, Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston are both better options. You can say whatever you want. I like Joe Flacco. I liked Joe Flacco when he was with the Ravens. I liked Joe Flacco when he was with the Jets. He's a professional quarterback. I like the guy. But the fact is, Joe Flacco's 42 years old. And Joe Flacco could barely move back there. For the Bengals to go out and give up an asset for Joe Flacco, an asset that the Giants could have had, and the Giants could have gotten a better asset had they given up either Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston. You didn't have to give up both. You only had to give up one, and it could have brought another asset into your organization. And I think it's a very short-sighted move by the Giants to hold on to and hoard all three of these quarterbacks when you could at least turn one of them into something to help you in the future.
Yeah, they should have done that, and it's a question mark if they're going to be burnt by this decision.
Yeah, I mean, it's all going to play out because part of me feels like the Giants are holding on to the quarterbacks until the trade deadline to try to get a desperate team to give up more than they want to. But I don't know. I don't know. If they end up finishing the season with all three of these quarterbacks on the roster, that's a joke. That's terrible, terrible roster management. But as for anything, Dan, now the Giants are getting ready for a big game tonight at home against the Eagles at MetLife. We're getting set. We got the injury report out already, as obviously they're getting set to play in less than an hour now. Saquon Barkley was on the injury report for the Eagles. He's been removed. He will be a full go tonight against the Giants. So, Dan, Saquon's making his return to MetLife tonight now.
Yeah, just another painful reminder of the other stupidity of Joe Shane and the Maras and everyone else in the Giants organization for letting freaking Saquon Barkley go like this.
Yeah, it's true. And now he's going to be right back in front of your face tonight on national TV as the Giants and Eagles will be going at it. Also, for the injury report, the Giants are not going to be with their wide receiver Darius Slayton, and
great.
he's got the hamstring injury, so he will be out tonight.
Great. Once again, Jackson Dart has even less to throw to. So now this is just getting me nervous. All right. Oh, I can't. This is just added insult to injury dealing with this already. It's enough that I'm going to be dealing with some Eagles fans I know that are going to be heckling me like crazy.
Yeah, and finally, though, a piece of good injury news. Tyrone Tracy, who had a good rookie season for the Giants last year, has been banged up a lot early on this year, which has allowed their rookie running back to have a pretty decent start to his season outside of that ugly fumble last week. But Tyrone Tracy will be active for the Giants tonight, so that at least gives them another healthy back to turn to.
Yeah. That's going to be a big one. I feel like I feel like we're gonna have a nice two-headed monster in Cam Scatterboo and Tyrone Tracy for quite a few years now. So I'm kind of pumped on seeing that. What that brings to this team. So that could be a big thing going forward in the future. Another thing I gotta state to those of you who specifically in the New York area that might complain that you don't have it, that you can't get the game because it's being broadcasted on Amazon Prime. If you are in the New York area, uh, as always with these things, Channel 5 is airing the game in the New York area. Of course, those of you out in the area, you're gonna have to find some other watch it on Prime or find some other means. Well, you know where you usually look for these situations if you're too cheap to pay for Prime. I'm not really at liberties to say, but you know. The last thing I need is that that version of Batman played by Gavin Blake on YouTube to just show up. Are you pirating a Giants game? And then he just shows up and beats the crap out of you for pirating a Giants game.
That's right, and that'll happen tonight. If you're trying to watch the Giants game illegally, it'll be the Philadelphia Eagles, who are a touchdown favorite, coming into MetLife, take on the Giants. Eagles are 4-1, Giants are 1-4. Giants looking to capitalize, as they couldn't capitalize on their momentum last week, but maybe they're catching the Eagles at a good time, because the Eagles just lost to the Broncos last week, 21-17 at home. So, the Eagles are going to be extra motivated this week, no doubt about it. But maybe the Giants are getting them at a good time.
Yeah, exactly. And if any of you watching the show haven't been attending Comic-Con, I mean, those tickets are hard to get. But if you had, I don't know if he's attending it, but I have a feeling if he would, if that guy on YouTube, Gavin Blake's attending the Comic-Con dressed as Batman. Try to put a word in to get that guy on the show, because I would love to see something funny with that guy. Because you've seen those videos when I've shared those videos to you, right? That
I don't even know who
Batman.
that is. I have no
You know that
idea
guy, the Batman, when he does things like, were you crossing a red light? When he says, like, when you're like stealing soda in Gotham, like when he, that trick that people have done with the water, and then you grab a soda, and he started beating up the guy for that.
Never seen it, but I'll take your word for it.
I gotta send you these videos, because these videos just had me laughing like crazy seeing it. I gotta send you some of these, because there are just so many of these things. You just look up Kevin Blake. I think it's Kevin Blake 23 on YouTube, because these Batman videos he does are hilarious.
All right, I'll have to check that out. All right, yes, so that's going to do it for the Giants, as the Giants are getting set to play tonight, a big game at MetLife against the Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll keep our eye on that. That game's getting started in about a half hour, a couple of minutes longer than that. And we'll take our attention now to the Jets, Dan, as the Jets go out there and crap the bed pretty badly. Once again, 37-22 loss to the Cowboys on Sunday. Not able to get the job done. The defense continues to suck. The Jets, look, that score too, you see 37-22. This is what the Jets have been doing this year. They put up these garbage time points at the end of the year, at the end of the game, when they're getting blown out. This game was 30-7 at one point. Then they scored a touchdown to make it 30-14. Then they scored. Then Dallas scored again to make it 37-14. Which was funny, because I actually predicted coming into this game the Jets would lose 35-14. So I was close, but then the Jets got the garbage time touchdown at the end to make it a little bit closer. But, this was not a close game at all. The Cowboys dominated the Jets. It was a disgrace for this defense again to look like this. They had 13 missed tackles in this game. Just an absolute abomination. This guy, Steve Wilks, the Jets DM, I wrote in this, is he in trouble? He better be in trouble, even though I didn't see Aaron Glenn saying anything about this. He came to his defense. It's a joke. This guy stinks as a defensive coordinator. And also Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn needs to take a hit for this too. Aaron Glenn's specialty is defense. He came over here as a defensive coordinator from the Detroit Lions. He's a former cornerback, all-time great for the Jets. This guy has allowed this defense to suck, and I blame him for it too, not just Steve Wilks. Steve Wilks sucks. We know that. I knew that the second they hired him. I was like, why the hell are they hiring this guy? And he stinks. So that doesn't surprise me. What does surprise me is that Aaron Glenn, who these people were treating like Bill Parcells Jr., when the Jets hired him, they were acting like he's a carbon copy of Bill Parcells. He came out and he said, well, the couple of things I know about my team is that we're going to play good defense, we're going to be disciplined, and we're not going to make stupid mistakes. Well, you know what the Jets have done exclusively through the first 5 games? They've played bad defense, they've been undisciplined, and they've made plenty of fucking penalties. It's been a joke. And he's got to be held accountable. I like Aaron Glenn. Outside of Darrelle Revis, he's probably my favorite cornerback in Jets history. And it's just a shame that they're playing like this. But they're 0-5. And it's a bad 0-5. Not that you can really have a good 0-5, but the Jets are 0-5. And not only are they that, they're the first team in NFL history to be 0-5 and not have forced at least one turnover in that 5 games. That's a shot at the defense. That's a shot at the head coach. That's a shot at everybody. And you know what? As much as I wanted to kill Robert Saleh the last couple of years, everybody wanted to kill him, especially when the defense didn't play well. We got to have the same level of, taking to task Aaron Glenn as we did Robert Saleh. You can't let him off the hook. He's a defensive coach. If the defense sucks, it's on him.
Yeah, exactly. It's on him. The defense sucks, and they need to play better. And it's one thing for them to start to have this terrible of a season. You want to see at least the team show some signs of life, even if they have a bad season. You want them to show some signs of life. You want to see them make a step forward, maybe carry something that they could carry into next year. They just look completely dead. And it's just going to be a long season, and it's just going to turn into something that's going to be that might end up being another building block year next year. It's something that could be had. I feel like this season turns out to be a disaster. It's something that could even slow down the rebuild.
Well, the crazy thing to me is that the Jets should not even be in a rebuild last year or this year. You know what I mean? They picked up Aaron Rodgers supposedly because the only thing the team needed was a quarterback. Then they went out and picked up Devontae Adams because, they wanted to add a little bit of depth to that receivers room. Now, apparently, where really they've only lost Rodgers and Adams, which, if you know the show and you've listened to me before, you know how angry I was at them for that. But that hasn't even been the worst thing, because even though obviously I hate the fact whenever I hear them say how the Jets need another receiver, where they just gave up Devontae Adams for nothing and released him. But for the quarterback perspective, yeah, Justin Fields has not been great. But Justin Fields has not been the reason the Jets are 0-5. And I really thought quarterback play was going to play a big factor in the Jets sucking this year. But it really hasn't. His bad game this year was the game against Buffalo. He bottomed out in that game and had a really shit game. So I'll knock him for that because he deserves it. But the fact is that the Jets, it's been everything else. The defense sucks. They can't hold on to the ball. They can't force a turnover. So all that combined, I don't understand where the talent went. And there's even time where the Jets' offensive line looks like trash, where you're saying to yourself, how many first-round picks do the Jets have to make on offensive linemen for their offensive line to not suck? Every time you turn around, the offensive line still sucks. Now, I'll give them this. The offensive line actually does look pretty good on the run offense. The Jets are actually averaging over 140 rush yards a game. It's the pass protection where they suck. And another first team in NFL history, Dan, the Jets are the first team in NFL history to average over 140 plus rushing yards on the ground through the first 5 games and not have a win.
Yeah, that is crazy. The Jets are just hitting new lows that you never thought your team could hit with with all the lows your Jets have gone. You didn't think they could hit this low. They just lowered the bar even more.
When it comes to as low as the Jets can go, Dan, it never surprises me. It might surprise some other Jet fans who are not as cognizant of the fact that the Jets suck as much as they do. But I recognize it, even as a Jet fan, as much as I love my team, I recognize that they suck. And I'm not going to sit here and play it down one bit. So, also with the Jets defense, Dan, they're averaging 31.4 points per game, the fourth worst ever for the New York Jets after 5 games played. So, the Jets have had some pretty bad teams over the years. If you're going to be in the top 4 for worst defenses, that's saying something.
Yeah, that is just terrible. And I feel really bad. I'm a Giants fan, but I feel really bad if it's a situation where the Jets get the number 1 draft pick. What that number 1 draft pick, assuming it's like some quarterback that you guys are going to have high expectations on, what that number 1 draft pick is going to have to go through being a quarterback on this team.
I shudder to think, Dan. I don't even know. I don't even know what to. I don't. All I know is that the Jets could get the number 1 pick in the draft next year. Which right now, look on Tankathon.com. The Jets are number 1, the only 0-5 team in football. I still would fully expect the Jets to get that pick wrong, whoever they pick, or do what they did with Darnold and do what they did with any other talent they've had over the last decade, flush them down the toilet, and then they show up somewhere else and are pretty decent. So that's the Jets world for you. I saw also Quinnen Williams said the Jets defense is the reason for the 0-5 start. I want to thank him for actually saying that, but I mean, what does that mean? We all know that the defense sucks. So thanks, Quinnen, for that. But one good piece of news, Dan, is that they're going to be getting their big defensive end, Jermaine Johnson, back, who looks like he's set to return. He hasn't practiced since week 2, so getting him back out there is going to be big for this defense.
Yeah, so you guys got that, but it's gonna be a question mark being the guy coming back from an injury. You know how that always turns out. It's not always a quick start that they get. You go in hot and then you get injured. So it's a lot of progress to make when coming back. The part where you actually come back in a game. So
yeah, that's true.
It's still a big hill to climb for your Jets.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So with that, Jets lose 37-22 to the Cowboys and turn our attention to the game in London, like you said, Dan. Jets Broncos. Broncos are coming off that big win against the Philadelphia Eagles. Broncos are a touchdown, just about a little over a touchdown favorite there, 7.5 points. Jets are the home team in the Tottenham Spur Stadium out there in London. And it's going to be Broncos 3-2 at Jets 0-5, 9:30 in the morning. So get your breakfast. And, that's what I was telling everybody at my job this week. It was so at least the Jets get to ruin our breakfast this week and not our lunch.
Yeah, exactly. It's what you were telling everyone you were talking to at work. It's pretty much you're going to be watching the Jets game on Sunday morning, probably pounding a lot. Probably going to be a lot of moments that will have you pounding the mimosas.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
to probably a 17-7 Jets defeat.
Yeah. What are you saying? 17-7, you said?
Yep.
Okay. We'll keep that in mind because we're going to do our picks in a minute at the end of the show. Also, real quick, I did want to catch up on some of our chats that we got. We got iRock hanging out there saying, "What's up, Bobo?"
Yeah,
and,
what's up, iRock?
I also want to give a shout out to him because he said he's been telling everybody about our podcast. So
All
thank
right,
you very much, IROC.
yeah, big thanks for getting the word out there. Much big high five to you, IROC, whoever you are. Don't know who you are, but I do know that I greatly appreciate your support and getting the word out. That I do know.
That's right. And finally, he's asking you to do a British accent. So he's promoting our podcast. So come on, let's go.
All right. Get it out of the bloody knockers on that bird here.
All right. I like it. I like it. You nailed it there. You nailed the bloody knockers on that bird. All right. Very nice. And also to our buddy Mac TV hanging out there. I didn't get to this one earlier when we were talking to Giants. He said Jackson Dart impressions, head coach and GM fired soon. I think we were kind of agreeing on that. And the Jets suck worse somehow. And he's 100% right about that. The Jets definitely suck. And so far, I'm impressed with Jackson Dart. I like what we've seen out of him so far. How about you, Dan, as the Giants fan?
Yeah. I feel like Jackson Dart is having he's having an impressive season. I feel like he's checking in all the boxes as a rookie. I feel like he's making a progress. I just feel like they need to get the right people around him, and I feel like he'll become. They put everything, set him up with the right pieces and the right system. I think Jackson Dart could be an elite quarterback, and maybe I don't want to oversay it, but dare I say it, because I feel like I noticed an interesting stat. Ever since the 1980s, every decade has had a Giants win the Super Bowl since the 1980s. At least had one Giants championship. Could that be somewhere in the near future, in the coming years?
That's true. We're halfway through the decade now.
Yeah, that championship that occurs every decade. Is it possible we could be? Is it possible somewhere down the line that trip down the Canyon of Heroes is happening? That it could be the first Super Bowl championship parade that we're going to be we'll ever cover on this show, and that would probably have me there, and you'd be there behind the camera filming the parade footage and filming footage of me, because that's kind of what happens in football season if one of our teams wins. I like if your Jets ever won. I know it's a far stretch, but if your Jets ever won the Super Bowl, I'd be behind the camera filming the footage of you celebrating and everything, and filming all the video and everything in the parade that we'd be showing on the show. And then I'm sure likewise you'd be doing the same if the Giants won the Super Bowl. You'd be there behind the camera filming everything, filming me and Eastside Dave and whoever else went with me to watch that parade react and celebrating that championship and in that parade, and probably footage of us knocking down a couple of beers at Donovan's after that parade, because any one of my teams win the championships, any one of our teams win the championship, that's where the post parade gathering will take place.
Absolutely, Dan. I would be on there if hopefully the next couple of years the Giants are able to get that done. And hey, maybe if me and you are still doing the podcast in 2050, the next time the Jets make the playoffs, then maybe we'll celebrate that as well. So, yeah, I could definitely see getting some kind of content like that. No doubt about it.
Yeah, yep, exactly. And I could tell you, I don't know why, but the times the Giants were in the Super Bowl, my mother's chili seems to just hit different. I don't know what it is. It just feels like a different. It just feels like a different energy when the Giants are in the Super Bowl. Like I literally say this, that I sometimes forget the commercials when the Giants are in the Super Bowl, because it's like that time I'm actually going to the bathroom and stuff during commercials and stuff, and I think those times I ended up watching the commercials like a couple of days later. I went on YouTube and watched all the commercials to try to make sense of what anyone was talking about, because I was just really locked into the game when your team's in the Super Bowl. I can tell you, if it ever happens to you, that's what it'll feel like. And
don't worry, it's not going to happen to me. Don't worry.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what it's like. And I can tell you, even if the halftime show's an act you want to see that isn't harmful, like a halftime show you're stoked about seeing, you probably are going to go to the bathroom during a halftime show. And plus that, you even know that these days you got YouTube and stuff. You could watch it later on. But you
Yeah.
definitely want to go to the bathroom because you don't want to miss it. A little trick I did actually when I was at the Super Bowl. I think I waited like actually I didn't really wasn't so excited about seeing the halftime show, but I think when I was like a little bit like maybe a little bit maybe halfway after the 2 minute warning, like there was like 150 left, is when I started making my way to the bathroom.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Yeah. It's a good Super Bowl hack if you ever end up there. So yeah, just to close the book on the football, Dan, we got the Jets over in London as 7.5 point underdogs there. Out there, going to be an early Sunday morning game for the Jets there, and I don't know. Let's hope a miracle happens and they win. Um, okay, so now let's get to some New York Rangers talk, Dan. As the Rangers now opened up the other night at the Garden, was not a very good opening for us as
Oh,
Jets. I'm sorry, as the Rangers ended up losing this one 3-0. There wasn't really anything to get excited about in that game at all. They basically trailed 1-0 for most of the game, and then the when the Rangers started pulling the goalie at the end of the game out of desperation, Penguins put in two. So Rangers ended up losing that one 3-0. Very, very ugly game. The Rangers almost didn't look prepared for it in a way, which is worrisome with the new head coach there. But what did you
yeah.
think?
I just feel like it was like that. I also feel like Panarin was cold going into this game, which was the thing I feared the worst. The fact that he didn't get any minutes in during the preseason, hardly got anything in during the preseason. So I knew that was the worst time for this to happen because Panarin just went in this cold, and it showed how he went into this cold, and everything just they couldn't do anything, and then missing a couple of openings right there, like it was right there in front of them, and they still didn't get it. And that goalie was just on Pittsburgh was just making save after save over his head, and just that one little time they were asleep on the wheel when they gave up that goal in the last minute in the first period. It was just a disaster. And it's like, I was like, what did I see? Because that just completely just shocked me the way that game ended, because you felt like something was going to happen and it never did.
Yeah, it's true.
And
It seemed to me like the only guy that showed up was Igor.
yeah, exactly. It's like Igor was saying, "Hey, a little help, a little offense here. Like, come on,
Yeah,
guys." I don't know if he was saying that in English or Russian. Probably may have been saying that in Russian for all I knew, but he probably was saying some. He was probably saying something that I'm sure his teammates understand, because I mean, hockey it's a universal language, so I'm sure he was saying something, but they didn't see it, and they didn't couldn't do anything. And boy,
yeah,
was that just a disaster. Like, they could not get, it's like they never got anything going once they were right there, had so many scoring opportunities, they couldn't get anything going. That I
yeah,
was maybe yelling at the TV after that game, or first game of the season already, and I go from one season of yelling at the TV to another. And I just hope it isn't going to be like this game and the rest of the
yeah.
way.
Well, so far the Rangers have been off to a pretty good start in this game. They're playing the Sabres right now in Buffalo, 7 p.m. tonight. The puck drop as the Rangers right now, they just started the second period, and Rangers lead 1-0 on that Alexi Lafreniere goal we were mentioning earlier. So off to a good start tonight. Got to hope that they keep that going. But it's still very, very early on in the season, so we're going to see a lot of uh, moving parts for the Rangers at this point early on. But they got the 1-0 lead, so we'll keep our eye on that as we round the show out, Dan. Now, we are going to do our picks. Last week we did our picks where I ended up going 3-0, and you went 1-2. You improved to 6-8. I improved to 8-6. And our picks last week went this way. You picked the Giants, you picked Dallas, and you picked Buffalo all to cover. Dallas was the only one out of those three that covered. I picked Dallas to cover against the Jets, but I also picked New Orleans to cover against the Giants and New England, who had the 8.5 points on Sunday Night Football against the Bills, or Thursday Night Football. I'm sorry, whatever it was. It might have been Sunday, whatever the day was. So I went 3-0. You went 2. We're off to a pretty decent start so far in our picks, and Dan, with that, we are going to do our picks now for this one. Let's get it going. Let's start off, Dan. Let's get our music on here first. There we go. Thank you, Sam. Season this year, we are going to start with the Jets. And Dan, the New York Jets right now are playing in London. That's going to be the Jets, taking 7.5 points. The Jets are getting 7.5. Obviously, Denver is giving it. Jets are 0-5. Broncos are 3-2. What are your thoughts on this one, Dan?
I just have a feeling this game's going to be a 17-7 Broncos win. It just feels like it's going to be like a low-scoring game early on for both teams. That's what happens sometimes with these games overseas, and it's just going to end in complete disaster for the Jets. It's probably going to be in very key moments down the second half of the game.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. This is going to be one. It's going to. The Jets are hoping that it comes down to it on this. So you're taking Broncos minus 7.5, right? Because you got them winning by 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you're taking the Broncos minus 7.5. Me and you are going to be going head to head on this one, actually, because for only the second time in the first 6 weeks, I'm actually going to pick the Jets, and I'm regretting doing it already. But I think the Jets are going to keep it close. I'm not blown away with the Broncos offense either, although they can put up some decent numbers. We saw them put up 21 in beating the Eagles. In beating the Eagles the other day. And I'm not saying by any stretch that I think the Jets are going to win this game. I definitely think the Jets are going to be coming home back to America 0-6. However, I think they're going to keep it close. So I'm going to be taking the Jets plus 7.5 in this game. So we're head to head. Dan is taking the Broncos minus 7.5. I'm taking the Jets plus 7.5. All right. As we keep it rolling along here now, Dan, let's go to tonight's game, the Thursday night football game. Philadelphia Eagles at the New York Giants. The Eagles are 7-point favorites tonight. The Eagles are 4-1. Giants are 1-4. Kickoff is in about 10 minutes. Dan, what do you think about this game? What do you got in this one? Oh, looks like Dan said it one more time. Sorry, your mic was off.
I feel like in this game, the Giants are going to win 27-17. I just feel like the Giants are going to make some key defensive stops late in the game. That's gonna allow them to just score just enough to win this game. And hopefully, regardless of how the season ends, I at least will be able to celebrate the Giants beating the Eagles.
All right, so you're saying that the Giants are going to end their losing streak against the Eagles tonight, and you're saying a straight-up 27-17 victory, correct?
Exactly. I feel like that's going to happen. I feel like Jackson Dart's going to have his big showing in his first game against the hated Eagles.
Okay, so either way, though, you are taking the Giants plus 7. So even if the Giants don't win this game, as long as they keep it within a touchdown, you'll cover. So that's cool. We'll see how the Giants hang in this one. However, I'm going on the other side. Me and you will also be going head-to-head on this one, Dan, as I'm going to be taking the Philadelphia Eagles minus 7. I think the Eagles are going to be coming into this game very angry after suffering a tough loss at home last week to the Denver Broncos. Short weeks usually favor the more talented teams. So, that is also going in the Eagles' favor. But then again, to to work in your favor, Dan, the short weeks also tend to sometimes favor the home teams. So that could work in the Giants' favor. However, I do think the Eagles are going to take this one. I'm not sure about the score, but I do expect them to cover. So me and you for the second game this week are going head to head. Philadelphia Eagles for me -7. New York Giants for you +7. All right, and then finally, Dan, our last pick of the weekend, we're going to be looking at the Sunday night football game, which is the Detroit Lions and the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City. Lions are off to a 4-1 start, look really good so far, and Kansas City's 2-3, but just starting to get their feet back underneath them. Chiefs, even off to this slow start at home, are 2.5-point favorites against a very good Detroit Lions team. Dan, who do you got in this one?
I just feel like the Lions are going to win this one 32-27, I feel like. This game's going to come down to a key defensive stop because these teams just got great offenses. So you're going to see a game that's going to be, for fans of both teams, edge of your seat.
Very true. I agree. This is going to be a very fun game to watch, no doubt about that. So the funny thing is, Dan, me and you, once again, we're going to be going head-to-head in all three of our matchups this week. So there's going to be no ties coming out of this one. You're taking the Lions +2.5. I'm going to be taking the Chiefs -2.5 at Arrowhead. I think the Chiefs, right now still have a little bit of a hole to dig themselves out of. So I'm going to be taking the Kansas City Chiefs in this one. So Bo is going with the Lions +2.5. I'm taking the Chiefs -2.5. So for this week, Dan, I've got the Eagles, I've got the Eagles, the Jets covering against the Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs. You've got the Giants covering against the Eagles. You've got the Broncos covering against the Jets, and you've got the Kansas City Chiefs. The Detroit Lions covering against the Kansas City Chiefs. So very, very interesting head-to-head matchup this weekend in all three games for supremacy in our NFL picks segment, Dan. So that is going to do it for us here on this show. Before we get out of here, Dan, do you have anything that you'd like to plug for yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I gotta plug my the Patreon where you guys get access to stuff like Trackside Minute, our Patreon exclusive football show on Sunday. You definitely get, and more importantly, it's $5 a show. The $5 show, best when the best deals in the city. Course of a round trip on the subway. Also, don't forget to follow me on X, Bobo103NYC, and Instagram, Bobo718DK, same username on Threads. And don't forget my YouTube account, one word Daniel Curlin, for all your Bobo content there. And remember, if you subscribe to the Patreon, you get, whenever I post stuff on YouTube, you guys get 1 week early access to it, to anything I post on YouTube. So you got to get a lot of good stuff there. So definitely be on the lookout for that.
That's right. So be on the lookout for everything coming out of our Patreon. Like Dan said, patreon.com/Best Seat in the House podcast. We appreciate all the support that we've gotten already, and we appreciate everybody that's hung out and watched us tonight, both on YouTube, on Twitter, also on Rumble. Want to appreciate everybody across there, everybody in the comments section. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. So that's going to do it for us on this edition of the show. As always, I'm your host, Rob Cramer, with my co-host, the great Daniel Bobo Curlin. We will be right back with you on Sunday for our post show. Actually, as a matter of fact, we'll be back tomorrow on Patreon for our Giants post game show, and then we'll be back at our normal time on Sunday, probably around 5:30, to do Jets post game after the Jets have the matinee on Sunday morning in England. So for my co-host Daniel Bobo Curlin, I'm Rob Cramer. We'll see you tomorrow on Patreon, but right back here in the same spot next week on YouTube, 7 p.m. We will see you next week, everybody. Have a great weekend. This is the Best Seat in the House podcast, and have a great night.